So if you know that's the fact, wind is going to scatter it. It's prohibited. Okay?
Do the winds and scatter it, like, that's even the case if it's not like, if it's not a windy day, like you should take like a clear day, but you do it, you're still using wind.
There has to be some wind. That's I would like to look into it further, but it's probably if there's wind. If there's no wind, then maybe you have to double check about it. Maybe the pressure itself is cold wind. Any other questions about this? Okay, so now we're going to,
If you go to the beach, like if you're at the beach for Shabbos, you know. And you're like, you get sand, it's very, like, that's something that people do, is they just like shake off sand, is that the same as separating? Like, if you were to just shake off sand?
sand
whether
can be
it's
close.
Or like a skirt, or like anything that's like attached to you, or it's
No
just
problem
like.
shaking it off. No, that shaking off is not the problem. The problem is if you're using the wind. Like you're doing it to the wind. Just to shake off, if you have to shake off dust, by the way, can you shake the dust off your garment? It's really a different discussion, but you're asking, so I'll answer quickly. Can you shake off dust from your clothes?
Not if it's black.
If it's a dark garment, which means that it bothers you. And you're shaking it off because it's bothering you, so you want the garment to look nicer. Then it goes into the category, rabbinically, it goes into the category of washing clothes. Not really washing clothes, you're not using any water, right? But it's a rabbinic, according to one opinion, it's a rabbinic form of washing clothes because the dust becomes embedded into your garment. And when it's not, if you have something that's on the garment, let's say you have a piece of string, something that's stuck to the garment. You're just pulling it off. It's not embedded. Washing clothes means that you're washing out this material. So by dust, because the dust gets embedded, it gets sort of into the garment. That's why when you want to get off dust, how do you get off dust? You just go like that, and the dust comes off. You have to go. That hurts, right? Right? You have to use pressure, right? Why? What's the big deal? Just take it off. Because it's embedded in the fibers or whatever it's called. Yeah, so that's why according to one opinion, this if it's bothering you, it's prohibited. So that could be an issue. Okay, you had a question?
Yeah, what about, if you might just said, what happens if you're having a picnic and there's crumbs on the table and you wanna like take up like on Shabbos, you know, people eat outside and you wanna take the thing, you shake all the crumbs off the
So that's what we're saying. If you're doing it to the wind,
Oh.
you're doing it to the wind, it's an issue. Because you're using wind to scatter, to separate. That's the problem.
But if it was like a nice warm day and it was like, and it wasn't.
Yeah, that's what she asked you for. I want to double check. I'm almost positive that the issue is only when there's a wind. There's no wind, because that's the nature of the Malach HaZeh, winning. Using wind, without wind, I don't think it's an issue. There are certain types of spray bottles, most of them are not an issue. Certain spray bottles work with pressure. It's called Venturi. The pressure, so there's like a wind that causes the liquid to come out from the bottle and scatter. But most of the spray bottles, it's practically the spray bottles that whatever you use on Shabbos is not an issue. It doesn't work with wind. It's a different system how it's just comes out. Okay, so we'll go to the Malach of Bayer. Bayer is separating another Malach in the Mishkan. Everything that came to in Shabbos is because that's how it was done in the building of the Mishkan. So let's first give the definition of the Malacha. The definition of the Malacha is separating two different items. That's the definition of Malacha, separating two different items. Where's the Malacha come from? It comes from the Mishkan. The Mishkan again, after they did the winnowing, it wasn't completely separated. they still have to separate, because there's smaller particles that have to separate, and take out the bad from the good, the pieces that weren't supposed to be there, they'll mix with the herbs, with the kernel, and they'll take out those bad pieces. So we know on Shabbos, the prohibition of Biden is only to separate bad from good, not good from bad. Now, I would see, because that's how it does in the Mishkan, that's what the law was. The nature was take out the bad, the not good, the undesirable from the desirable. But actually, the prohibition of Biden also includes taking out the good from the bad. Because anything that was done in the Mishkan, also what's similar to what was done in the Mishkan, is also prohibited. So in the Mishkan, it took bad from good. What's similar to bad from good? Good from bad. Yeah. So really, good from bad is also prohibited, or I should say, should be prohibited, and will sometimes be prohibited. But practically, as you know, you're allowed to take good from bad, and there are conditions involved. And the reason why, generally speaking, you're allowed to take good from bad is because there's something called derech achila. Derech achila, the way of eating. You're allowed to eat on Shabbos. Eating is not called work. So when you do something in the way of eating, you're allowed. Now, this can't be taken out of context. I just want to say, if you do something in the way of eating, you're allowed to do it. Not everything you do in the way of eating, is not enough. But here, Chacham explained to us, when you eat, you take out what you want. That's how you eat. So you take what you want. So that's not called malacha, that's called eating. That's why you can take good from bad, but that's, generally speaking, it's permitted, but we have to go into details. So let's go back to the rule. Any type of situation where it's going to be prohibited to be braided, it's because you have two different items and you're separating it. As opposed to when it's not two different items. Many times you can be separating when it's not two different items. It's the same item and it's still separated. Like, for example, if let's say you have a bunch of carrot sticks sliced up, and some are sliced bigger, some smaller, you want to take out the smaller pieces because you don't like those pieces. It doesn't look nice to serve it on the table with tiny little pieces. You want to take out the tiny pieces. So is it two different items? It's one item, it's all carrot sticks. It's not separate, so there's no issue. So if you don't have the definition of when you're separating two different items, there is no problem at all. You don't need conditions. So when we're going to talk about you can take good from bad, there are conditions because you're actually separating. So there's going to be conditions, and certain conditions you can take good from bad. But if you're not even separating, you're always allowed to do it. There's no limitation for it because it's not two different items. And it also has to be separating. Many times it's not called separating. Separating is only when there's actually a mixture. If it's not a mixture, then you're allowed. Now you're going to say, of course, it's not a mixture, I'm allowed. Why are they saying this? If it's not a mixture, you're allowed. Obviously, there's certain things that look like a mixture, but it's not a mixture. So, for example, if let's say, you would have apples and oranges together in the same bowl, and there's only a few of them. There's, let's say, 2 apples or 2 oranges, and they're all mixed together. Because they're big and it's such a small amount, it's not really considered a mixture. There are certain situations that are questionable if it's a mixture. We'll get to it. Let's start with the conditions of what are the conditions when you're allowed to take good from bad. So in order to take now good from bad, another better word is desirable from non-desirable, because both could be good. You have, let's say, almonds and cashews mixed together. I want the almonds, but I don't want the cashews. They're both good. So it's really desirable and non-desirable. So generally people say good that, but what they really mean is desirable, non-desirable. So one of the conditions that I'm allowed to take good from that, there's three conditions. Condition number one is it has to mean we're gonna use the language from Shulchan, which is Oichel mitoich Hisaylus. The good from the waste. Hisaylus means waste, Oichel is food. That's the term used in halacha. That's the classical term. Now you're allowed to take Oichel, the food, from the waste. You cannot take the waste from the food, but it doesn't mean food that specifically, but it is even non-food items. You can have different garments mixed together. You open up your wardrobe and you have a bunch of clothes hanging there, a bunch of dresses hanging. They're all close together. And you pick up the one you like. So that is actually separating. You're taking oichel, you're taking what you want for what you don't want. So the first condition is to be allowed to separate in Shabbos. Has to be oichel, you take what you desire from what you don't desire. The second condition is that it has to be samach la'achila. It has to be close to the time of eating.
So we're saying close example though, but that we could like lay out our outfit for Shabbos first.
Okay, so we do we put all the conditions and we'll discuss that. Very good. Samach la'achila means close to the time of eating. It's close to the time of eating. Meaning, you're going to eat now. It's right before the meal. You're getting ready to come up with showing time to prepare.
Right.
Now you're separating to prepare for the meal, taking out the good from the bad. Whatever you need to separate. We'll get to examples. Then you need all these conditions. Other condition is the yad. The yad means by hand. You cannot use a utensil to help you separate it. And there aren't so many examples of that, but we're going to get to that. But every situation when you're allowed to separate, because it has these three conditions, or because it's not called separate. Like you said before, the definition of braided separating is when we're actually separating and it's two different items and actually mixed together. I have to write that also. And for that, mix. Mix. Has to be mixed together. If it's not mixed together, it's not viewed as a mixture, it's not prohibited. Stuck together is also like mixed. Like we know it comes to peeling an orange. Peeling an orange is called separating. We're going to talk about it. The orange is the peel is not mixed with orange, it's stuck to it. Same idea. They're saying mixed, really mixed, stuck, even if it's very close together. You serve a platter with a bunch of different types of cold cuts, and they're both a bunch of them very close together, that is viewed as a mixture. So if you don't have any of these conditions, then it's a green light, no issue. If it is, it's mixed together, then we say, oh, you can't separate a Shabbos. Oh, if you have these three conditions, you have to have all of them. This one usually comes automatically with it. There's some situations where you don't have it, but usually this is like the main condition that comes to the play. There's exceptions to this too. We have to have all these three conditions, then you're allowed to do it. Now we're going to go through examples. Let's talk about the wardrobe, right? Shabbos, we want to go up in the wardrobe, we want to take out a dress. So what are you doing? It's a mixture because it's right, a bunch of them close together. When we have two hanging, it's not a mixture. But if you have a bunch of them, and it's pretty not like spread out, it's compact, it's a mixture. Now you're taking the dress that you want. So are you separating? Yes. Is separating allowed? Well, if you have these three conditions. If you take the eichel from sales, eichel means the desirable. You take what you want. Samach la'achila will translate itself close to you're going to get dressed. You're not doing it the night before. So close to the time of eating applies to food. When it comes to other things, it means as it applies. It's morning, you're going to get dressed now. Now, if you're taking it out, preparing it, and then you're going back to sleep, or you're going to stay in your bed another hour and read a book, then you cannot take it out because it's not samach la'achila. Okay? Let's take other examples.
Question about
Yeah.
that, if you did an outfit out and you end up not liking it, like, what's the whole situation?
You're stuck, you have to wear it.
Or-
That is key. You took, the point is, when you took it out, you intended to wear it, right? Being that intention was real. That was the intention. So at that time, it was permitted. The fact that you changed your mind later, that doesn't affect anything.
Are you allowed to put it back?
I'm coming back. Yeah, there's no malacha putting it back. The issue is removing it. Pulling it out, that's separating. Putting it back, there's no malacha involved.
Third one, what was the condition? Self-condition?
First condition is Eichel, the food, which means the desirable, the good. Sales is waste / undesirable, what you don't want.
Yeah. The third one, I think.
Huh?
The third one,
The third condition,
yeah.
beyond, has to be by hand, which means you can't use a utensil that assists in the separation of the two items that are mixed together.
That doesn't mean like a ladle or something.
Yeah.
Exactly, so what does it mean? It means if you're using a ladle, if you're using, first of all, if you're using, many times people serve salad, so they use a perforated spoon. So for sure you can't use that. That's actually a designated use utensil, that's even worse.
Yeah.
But even if you're using any vessel to help in separating, like if you're using a spoon and you're taking out something, soup, and then you're pressing it on the side of the pot to let the liquid drip down, it means you're using, that's questionable, it's still not clear. It's questionable, that may be a problem. Why am I saying maybe, you're using the utensil, because a lot of the things, let's talk about, let's say you're serving soup. How do you serve soup? On Shabbos? Like with your hand, you have to stick your hand into the soup. Right, so why are you allowed to use a spoon? Besides the fact that you shouldn't burn yourself, what's the reason why you're allowed? Hmm? And use it, okay, utensil, is that called using it? Okay, the reason is because the reason why you're using the spoon is showing yourself dirty. You're not using the spoon to help you separate. The reason why you're using the ladle when you serve soup is not specifically the ladle is going to help me separate the liquid from the spaghetti. Using the ladle, it's easier. You don't get yourself dirty. You don't burn yourself. So the using of this ladle is not to assist in the separation of the spaghetti and the carrots and the soup. That's not what it's for. That's why there's no issue at all using a spoon for serving. But if you're using a spoon that has holes in it, slots, perforated spoon, that becomes an issue because that's a utensil that's designated for separating. That's a problem.
Wait, so what about like the pasta? You know, like the pasta, thing, and sometimes it has like those little things like that, and sometimes it has like a hole in the middle of it. But with
I'm not
that,
sure what you mean.
like pasta, what are they called? Like, okay, and sometimes
It's like a spaghetti.
It's made special to grab onto the pasta.
no, it's not a grabber, it's like a scooper, but.
Has
it's-
holes.
But it has like, it usually has like a tiny like circular holder, I think to measure the pasta, like.
It separates it. A hole. What's the hole?
But
mean?
it's not like the pasta is separated. like,
You have a picture of it?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like an issue.
Like that, like, could you still use that to like grab pasta?
Which one? This one?
Yeah, would you be able to still use a like, spatula like that to grab it, like, to grab pasta?
What are you separating it from anyways? When you
Just
serve
taking,
personally.
like, like if you were gonna take pasta, but you usually would have.
But
like,
what are you
all-
separating it from? What else is in the pasta? All there is pasta, right? You're not separating it from anything else.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
You're not separating.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're gonna get to everything.
So when,
And then also salmon, when it has like seeds on top, like.
Okay,
that's
so
the
let's
two different
let's
items.
discuss soup. We might as well just Whatever examples come up, we'll go in that order. Soup, what's the issue with soup? Are you allowed to serve soup on Shabbos?
And like,
Now, when you are, huh?
like people say, oh, what do you want to do? I just want broth and waffle. I don't want to get.
So you're taking what you want.
Yeah.
So
That's the
serving
first
now,
question.
when you are serving soup, are you separating? Yes. But you're allowed because you have all the conditions in. Which means if you're not ready,
Beyond.
so we're explaining. It's still called biyad. Biyad is just excluding that you can't use a utensil that's gonna assist you in the separation of the items mixed together. Not you using the spoon to make it a little easier so you don't burn yourself, so you don't get yourself dirty. That's not what it means. That's fine. Other example. Let's talk about oranges. Peeling oranges, peeling eggs. I like to peel orange on Shabbos. Orange, now you need, can you peel orange on Shabbos, anyone? Yeah, you peel orange, right? Why? Because you're taking the goods from the bag, right? Taking what you want from what you don't want, correct? Right? No, not really. Taking the back, right? Taking the back and taking the back from the goods. How does that work? It's one condition is gotta take the goods from the bag. When you want, you don't. How do you peel orange? It is considered mixed. If it's stuck together, it's considered mixed. Mixed includes when it's stuck together. Same idea.
Because the good, like, there's no other way because you have to.
Okay, so you're close to it. I'm saying because there's no other way. There is another way, theoretically, but this is. You can't really get into it. Right now, you can't get to it, and this is how it's generally done.
Cut it. and
This
then-
is the normal way how it's done, that people will peel an orange to get to the orange. So therefore, this is called the way of eating it. Usually you take the good from the bad to get the food. In this case, the way you take the good from the bad is by peeling the orange. That's how you do it, because the way it's now, you can't get to it. Now, theoretically, you could cut it open. We don't make it crazy. The point is, this is considered the normal way how you eat an orange is to peel the orange. So therefore, as I said before, there are exceptions. This rule of taking good from bad, there are exceptions. It's one of the exceptions. But you can only peel the orange if you're going to be eating now. You're ready to eat. What about if you're not ready to eat? You're preparing it for the meal. You're coming home from show, 12 o'clock, the meal is going to be 1 o'clock, and now it takes time to prepare. You're going to play opening up oranges, making dessert. You're not eating it now, you're eating it 3 hours later. So is that okay? Is that called samach lachila, close to the time of eating? Yeah, why yeah? Because it takes time to prepare. Right, so that's the correct answer. That is okay. That is called close to the time of eating. Close doesn't mean like a second before. It means the time you need to prepare a meal. You're preparing everything for the meal. You're not, if you're doing it in the morning before you go to show, you got a problem. Because it's not close to the time of eating. You come go through show, it takes an hour to prepare. It doesn't take an hour to prepare the vegetables and the fruits to peel them, but there's a bunch of stuff that needs to be done. Setting the table, this, that, and included in that is also peeling the oranges, let's say, or whatever, any type of separation. It's not even for the meal, dessert, doesn't matter. It's one long meal, dessert. Whatever time you need to prepare for the meal is okay. You can do all types of separation that's needed for the coming meal and for dessert before the meal when you come home from shop. Clear? Now, we spoke about eggs. Peeling eggs is the same thing like oranges. Same idea. Any type of peeling that you have to take off the shells is the same idea. But eggs is a little different. That eggs, the shells are muktzah. And therefore, the best way to peel eggs is to peel directly into the garbage, so you don't have an issue of muktzah. Now, cantaloupe and watermelon is different. Even though we say that you're allowed to peel an orange if it's close to the time of eating, but when it comes to cantaloupe, cantaloupe is different. Cantaloupe, you cut open a cantaloupe, and you want to scoop out the pits. Oh, one second. In some ways it is, similar in some ways it's not. Let's clarify that. Let's start first with watermelon, okay? Watermelon. Yeah, slice of watermelon, and you want to take out the pits. Can you take out the pits? The answer is no. So yes, you could peel an orange with these conditions, but watermelon, you cannot take out the pits. That's not called the way of eating. It's not the same like peeling an orange. So you cannot just take out the pits in the watermelon. You can't take it out at all. Even when you're ready to eat, you cannot take out the pits from the watermelon because you're taking out the bad from the good.
Well, you mean like scooping out the watermelon in the shower? What are you,
I'm gonna take out the pits from the watermelon.
They're like two types. There's the black ones, and they're like closed, and there's like the white ones that are like not as fast. I think that's the watermelon. Does that matter? Do they take the black ones like? because the-
Black watermelon?
Huh?
The black seed.
Oh, the black seeds. See, the black seeds are, which one is worse, you said?
The black one.
Okay,
Black seeds I feel. They do all. Well,
both of them you don't want. The point is, you could eat them and spit it out with your mouth.
alright.
So therefore, it's not like peeling an orange. When we say, oh, that's like eating an orange, it's not the same thing. You're not allowed to do it. Now, with cantaloupe, it works like this. Cantaloupe, it has a similarity to peeling an orange, but not entirely. The way it works is like this. When you cut open the cantaloupe, you'll have a whole layer of seeds over there. And you cannot get to the cantaloupe unless you scoop out with a knife, you take out it's a whole layer, you cut off. That's like a peel. So just like you could peel an orange, when you cut open the cantaloupe, you could take off that whole layer inside the cantaloupe, just cut it out, scoop it out. And but you have the conditions. In other words, it's close. So again, it's the same like peeling a orange, but you have to have the condition that it's close to the time of eating. But after you take off the main layer, something this piece is still left. Those few pieces that are left is a problem because now you're able to get to the fruits. Now it's a similar to pits in the watermelon, but you cannot take pits from the watermelon. So those little seeds that are left after you take off the thick layer, you cannot take them off. So the best thing is when you take off the thick layer, you try to take everything together, everything at once. In a cantaloupe is full of seeds. You cut it open. So his thing is try to get it all off at once. Because once you get the first layer and then you have still some seeds left, you can't take off those seeds because you're able to eat the fruit the way it is, just like you can eat watermelon with seeds, just if it's a little annoying, you have to spit it out, but you're able to eat it this way, so you cannot take out those seeds.
The peels of like cantaloupe and orange go out like that afterwards.
The peels of oranges are not muktzah. The peels of cantaloupe seeds, I'm not sure, I have to look it up. Muktzah is another discussion, and it could be it is muktzah. Generally, we're not discussing, okay, so generally the way muktzah is, even though it's a topic for itself, but if it's muktzah and it's bothering you, you could move it. If it's bothering you. I think it's better we discuss it on its own because I'm gonna say briefly, and there's too many details involved, let's bring it for another time. But practically, just like with the eggs, how do you peel eggs? We said peel it over into the trash, into the garbage can, that's it. Because then you have no problem. The same thing is, you're cutting up a cantaloupe, you're scooping it up, let it go straight into the garbage, and you solve all the issues. Anyone has any examples of separating that you want to discuss?
Is this a
Okay, so
games?
same with games. You finish playing the game, the black pieces, the white pieces. Now you want to put away the game. Now you want to separate the pieces. You can't separate. Because it's only allowed when it's samach l'chila, close to the time of eating slash whatever it is, using it, getting dressed, whatever the item that you're using, it's only close to the time of use. So you cannot separate the pieces. You have to put it away just the way it is.
There's no issue when you're actually playing the game. Like,
What could be the issue?
I don't know, a lot of.
Because you're separating,
Yeah.
but you're using it now. That's like taking the good from the bad. You're
Well,
playing
like
now,
this-
so you're taking the pieces that you
Yeah.
want. That's those pieces that you need.
I don't understand with cleaning up, like at the time of cleaning up, and that's what people do. Oh, it's not a way to be like that.
Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work. It has to do with using it.
But like the problem with using game.
What do you want to hear again? If you finish playing the game, you can't separate the pieces.
Whenever you put it back in the box for it to fit in the box, you have to put it in the little shapes that are in there. Like how clean.
But you can't separate the colors because you're not using it now. You're separating it to put it away.
This is nuances between games, but over yonder, when we were playing lots of games.
For me, it's
and then-
Yeah, it's a good question, but I mean, I can look into it. Maybe there's some legal, I don't know. I don't think, the best of my knowledge, it's not allowed. Any other examples? Anyone has any other examples you want to discuss in the law of Biden, separating?
Yeah, just one more question about.
Yeah.
And, okay. So then they have like, you know, people have different like things on top of it, like some little things and stuff like that.
Seeds
Yeah,
on the salmon?
yeah, and I don't like these, but I can have. So I'm able to separate them.
Okay, so if
And
you
I
get,
might use my fork. to do it.
okay,
I
good.
can use my
So he said things that are stuck to each other is considered a mixture. That means if you, let's say, have on top of the salmon a whole layer of seeds, right? Then you don't like those seeds, right? Or you do like it, but whichever way, you like it, you don't like it. Let's analyze what, is this called a mixture? Yes, it's two separate items. It's called a mixture. Now, the best way to remember the lots of Biden is, any Allah just to understand what's behind it, right? So you have to know, is this a mixture? Yes. So we always, when you fall back to the three conditions, you always get it right. Now, what do you like? You like the seeds? You don't like the seeds, right? You don't like the seeds. So now the seeds becomes the waste. Now you want to take off the seeds. Now, generally, we say got to take the good from the bad. But you can't really get the way to get, if it's completely covered with seeds, the way to get to it is by taking it off. So now you know, now you're allowed to take, now this condition is an exception to this condition. Now you could take off the seeds because that's how you get to it. But now you need other condition close to the time of eating. If you're ready to eat right now, no problem. But if you're not ready to eat now, you're just doing it for later on, then you can't. Get it?
Then with the seeds on solid. And like, I can have.
Seeds on challah.
Yeah. The solid. There's a
So-
few seeds on the bottom still,
Well-
like I can donate it a little bit, so I'm gonna like pick those off. I can do that.
It's like taking the seeds out of the watermelon. Competition, because
I'll eat it out.
you could eat around it. So that becomes an issue, yeah.
Thank you. You can use the fork to get rid of the seeds.
Could use what?
Fork to get rid of the seeds. You can like on the family.
Let's say, for example, it's a person that doesn't necessarily like salt or their seeds on that side, right? They take the fork and they go, look, they cover it down.
We said if the seed is completely covering it, it's like a peel, like an orange peel. Then it's okay if you're going to be eating now, because that's how you get to the food. But if it's not completely covering it, then there is an issue of separating. Now, I'll give you another example. Take example of herring or a fish with just one more thing and then we'll finish. Herring or fish with very, very thin bones. Right? Now, you gotta take the good from the bad. Very thin bone. What do you do? Very thin bones. What happens over here? You gotta eat it and choke on it. So because the bones are very thin, you can't eat it and you're gonna be swallowing bones. So this is how you eat it. Because it's so thin, This is how you eat it. You gotta take out, so then it's okay. Again, samach achila, close to the time of eating. Means right before the meal, right for the meal, it's gonna be okay. But generally, not by thin bones, regular fish with bones, you cannot pull out the bones. Now, we have gefilte fish. You know why we have gefilte fish? Why was it invented? Why was gefilte fish invented by Jews? Why? Because of the halacha of Biden, because of separating, because you tear up fish with bones, you have a problem. It makes it very difficult because you cannot pull out those bones. You have to take the fish from the bones. It makes it complicated. And some people get confused or whatever. That's why they came with gefilte fish. Solves the whole issue. Doesn't mean you can't, it doesn't mean that because we have the custom means you can't have fish with bones. You just have to know the halachas. Having a regular piece of fish with bones, you gotta be careful, just cut away the fish from the bones, do not pull out the bones. Unless the bones that we said are very thin bones, there's no other way to do it. You can't cut away the fish from the bones when the bones are thin, it doesn't work. So then it's gonna be okay. Again, we always fall back to the main condition, samach achila, close to the time of eating. Okay, see you tomorrow.
Other ones. Come down there. You know, you really want to get it.